Five Nights at Freddy's. Oh god, where do I even begin? This game, no, this franchise is one of the most important pieces of media in my life. I mean, not really. If it were to vanish in front of my eyes, my life wouldn't change much, but my heart would definitely shatter into a million pieces. This is the first big franchise I was ever invested in as a kid. I can remember my first experience on it so vividly. And it honestly kind of makes me a bit sad to think of the times back then. Like, let's save that till the end of the video, shall we? This franchise is honestly revolutionary. From Scott Cawthon's humble beginnings of creating creepy beavers to a multi-million-dollar teddy bear. This franchise has gone through its fair share of ups and downs, controversies, and sexual addictions. But one thing has always stood firm. The fandom will always love this franchise. And make stupid edits. And I can't blame them. You'd think I'd be one of those people who hate FNaF, but no, I love most of everything in this franchise. The original games, while super bare bones and simple, ensue this amazing atmosphere of despair and cruelty, with a slight sense of hope somewhere in there. Honestly, I can't do the atmosphere of early FNaF justice with my words. It really is a you had to be there type of thing. I mean, the gameplay is so simple. You sit in your office watching furries move around in the restaurant, and somehow that can be compelling, and for some people horrifying. I think what kept the first game so interesting was just the mystery involved in everything. I mean, hell, we didn't even know who Purple Guy was at the time, and he's revolutionary. All we knew is that some kids went missing, supposedly murdered by a sick and twisted individual, and the tragedy of it is enough to make some people stick around for more. It's easy to say that with FNaF 1's immaculate character design, sound effects, and general atmosphere that made the franchise blossom into what it is today. And with all the FNaF fan animations and games, it's just become even bigger. I used to watch those cringy FNaF SFMs of the animatronics just acting like homies, and you know what? Tony Krynight's FNaF movie is a masterpiece, alright? Same goes for the second, third, and fourth game. They all have this sort of campy atmosphere, which really works for me for some reason. Yeah, Sister Location 2, but I feel like Sister Location is when the first big shift in the franchise happened. So I don't really count it as, like, the originals. I mean, it maybe should be, but you know what I mean. Oh yeah, these games were also made in a super tight amount of time. Like, they were all made so near to each other. I'm pretty sure the first 4 games weren't even a year apart. Like, the first game and fourth game were released only like 9 months apart, I'm pretty sure. And for most other game franchises, that kind of speed would probably ruin the cells and make people have some kind of FNaF whiplash. But for FNaF, it really helped elevate it to a much bigger audience. Mostly of newborn children and some bronies, but that's better than nothing, come on. The first game was something special, I'll tell you that. This game was my first introduction to real horror, and back in the day, it fulfilled that role perfectly. The gameplay, while simple, is paranoia-inducing, and the ambience, in my opinion, the best part of the game. Just the vibe that this place gives off. The vague idea that 5 kids were murdered and possibly stuffed into the suit sent shivers down my spine. Honestly, such good environmental storytelling. The pizzeria is small, but just big enough to give you enough time to watch the little critters come to say hi to your office. I think the hysteria this game gave me as a child was enough to forever be attached to this franchise. It did such an amazing job hooking me and creeping me out that I still love it to this day. It's enough to make a grown man cry. Also, the designs of the animatronics were absolutely peak, especially Foxy. Looking all cute with all that going on, you know, all that cake, all that running. Look at those shoes. The air of mystery was at its most prevalent in this game. Things like Golden Freddy, the missing kids posters, and a few other Easter eggs here and there really made a lot of the horror community theorize as to what happened in this pizzeria. If any of you were at the beginning, we also had the dumbest of theories, like that Foxy was a good guy, and the only reason you died to him was because you got a heart attack when he came in. It was definitely a wilder time to be a FNaF fan, with all the stupid little things people came up with. And even though this game is 10 years old, it still holds up surprisingly well. And dude, that 420 mode was such a fun challenge. Yeah, it was definitely annoying and super unfair at the start, but I like how like when time went past, right, people came up with much better strategies to beat this mode. Even I have beat this mode. Not every 420 mode can be a banger though. Looking at you, FNaF 2. I'll get to you in a minute. Oh yeah, also the Living Tombstone song was such a bop. I could listen to this for hours on end. FNaF 2's release was hype as fuck for me. Obviously, I couldn't buy it at the time because I was a broke 9-year-old, so I had to watch Markiplier's playthrough on the game. But, hey, that really isn't too big a deal. I mean, have you seen this guy's OnlyFans? The designs of the animatronics in this game are very hit or miss. Like, on one end of the stick, you got Withered Bonnie, right? You got that cool shit going on over there, but then on the other end, you got Toy Chica. And I know Toy Chica has its own little dedicated fan base of, preteens and weirdos, but I don't condone this, alright? I want more stuff like Withered Bonnie. The Withered animatronics have really cool designs, the puppet looks awesome, and the rest look garbage. Look, I am not gonna take any shit for it. Look at Toy Bonnie. Look at this guy's face. This doesn't creep you out. You know what creeps you out? This. This is creepy. Not this. This. The second game was beloved by most of the fandom on release, with all the lore drops and cool Easter eggs everywhere. And I used to love this game too, until recently, where I came to the conclusion that the gameplay is a big load of donkey horse shit. Especially the 1020 mode. This goddamn bullshit took me 9 hours of straight torture-inducing gameplay, because it is so RNG based. Also, the fact that you can practically only use the puppet's camera was kind of saddening, because it's cool to see everything else on the cameras, but you just couldn't use it. Like, what's the point in even having cameras if they're completely useless? It's just very jarring. This is the game where we got introduced to Purple Guy though, so that's super mega cool. The first and main antagonist of the series, and Scott hit it out of the park with his vibe and story. Also, the minigames that play after you die were such a good storytelling device. It was pretty revolutionary at the time, in my opinion. And those minigames were one of the main things people took inspiration from to make their own, like, FNaF fan games. So while the gameplay is pretty subpar and way too chaotic for me, the actual lore drops and story were pretty well executed, so not a horrible experience overall. Though, this is definitely the least replayable game in the franchise for me. Now, I have a very unpopular opinion about this game. I think FNaF 3 is probably my favorite OG FNaF game, and I also think that it's objectively one of the best. Come on, guys, it's not that bad. No, it's just not that bad.
Your bitch ass up.
Who said that? I don't know why people hate this game specifically. It introduced one of the most iconic characters of all of horror, Springtrap, and just had generally pretty good gameplay. Instead of only watching one camera the entire night, you had to actually find where Springtrap was all the time, and having only one animatronic might seem limiting, but it actually improves the gameplay, because he fulfills many roles at the same time, like corridor walker and vent crawler. The atmosphere in this game is also probably my second favorite, right behind FNaF 1. It's so eerie, and the greenish hue over the screens makes everything so tense. The jump scares are a little weak, I can't admit. It sounds like a goose hissing at you.
The fuck are you looking at?
And most of the fancy animatronics admittedly have pretty lazy designs, looking like watermelons and such. But the ending to this game was just such a nice way to wrap things up. It was pretty emotional to see the souls of the missing kids finally be put to rest, and having their murderer perish. I mean, until he didn't, but it was nice while it lasted. This game also brought the annoying trend of FNaF is ending this time. Yeah, remember when we thought this was the last FNaF game? Good times, good times. The lore in this game is also a masterpiece. We finally got to know what happened to those kids that went missing, and how William Afton's sins finally caught up with him in the end. Such good storytelling. And if the franchise actually did end here, I would have no problem with that. God, what a good game. Super underrated. God, this video is getting long. Okay, so FNaF 4 is the 4th installment of the franchise. Fucking obviously. And just like FNaF 3, I think this is a really highly underrated game. It is definitely the scariest of the originals. The designs for the nightmare animatronics were horrifying for 12-year-old me. Plus, the sound mixing and the visual ambience were all amazing. Also, for this particular game, I think it was an absolute genius move to make us barely see the animatronic. It made their appearance way more impactful and scarier, and it made me dread getting jump scared all the time. Sadly, this game was actually the one I played the least. This was around the time I kind of started fading, like fizzling away from the FNaF franchise a little bit, before coming back and help Juan and Arrow. So I kind of missed out on some of the community jokes and theories that were going on at this time. It's such a shame too. I feel like FNaF 4 had one of the biggest theory potentials of the original games. From the Afton family and how they interacted to one another, to finally seeing the Freddy's restaurant, like, being called Fred Gunkel's Family Breakfast. This game had amazing lore elements, while also having probably the objectively best and most replayable gameplay loops of the game. The way you had to check on every animatronic individually really gave them their own sense of dread and personality. Like, if you'd be at the doors too long, you'd be getting a fistful of Freddles, and eventually the man himself, Freddy Fazbear, would join. And the memes, my god, the memes. If there was anything I do remember from the FNaF 4 era, was how iconic the memes became to be.
Was that the
Bite of 87 will always be a highlight for me. And other funny yet annoying things like that stupid fucking box. God, that fucking box has haunted my dreams. So yeah, probably the scariest in the franchise. Very, very good game. Okay, I did actually want to add something to talk about this game, but I was just not in the community when this came out. I have almost nothing to say about this game, as I've never really experienced anything like on it. I've heard it's very overhated and actually good if you give it a chance, but this video is already long enough and it won't end anytime soon, so I'll just give myself a free pass because, like, I don't really care about FNaF World. I'm sorry. I guess I could say that it's colorful. I like the designs, very good designs, but yeah, on to the next game.
Please enter your name as seen above the keypad. This cannot be changed later, so please be careful. It seems that you had some trouble with the keypad. I see what you were trying to type, and I will auto-correct it for you. One moment. Welcome, Eggs Benedict.
Oh boy! Sister Location! I absolutely hated this fucking game when it came out. I was butthurt that my favorite animatronics became pink. Yeah, I was pretty sexist as a kid. But now that I've re-experienced this game, I gotta say, I love it to bits. I don't even really remember what I disliked about this game. Maybe it was just how different it was compared to the others, and my pea-sized brain couldn't handle it at the time. This game is way more narratively driven from the previous games. You play as a security guard slash vent mechanic, also known as Michael Afton, to try and find clues as to where your father William Afton is. I mean, obviously this isn't directly told. The real meat and potatoes of this game is following Baby's instructions to try and survive the sister location. This game introduced a lot of good elements into the franchise, like Baby, and this was the first time we ever saw the concept of Remnant in this game, which is pretty awesome to me. This game was also the biggest tonal shift in the franchise, not counting this bullshit, so I think that's why it was seen with more skepticism than the others. This was a purely narratively driven story after all, and dumb little children like me couldn't perceive it at the time. I'm also pretty sure it's the first game that had voice acting in it. This game really innovated what Scott Cawthon could do with the games moving forward. Also, that ending, my god, that ending was something I didn't expect. Who knew the animatronics would combine into one sole entity? That's fantastic. Oh yeah, they merged. I guess spoiler for a 10-year-old franchise, you little fucking idiot. Hello? Hello? If you're hearing this and have enjoyed the video so far, how about leaving a subscribe and like? And maybe a comment. Yeah. My channel does get a bit quirky at No, but seriously, a like and subscribe and a comment would really be appreciated. Thanks for enjoying the video so far, and back to Pizza Simulator.
Connection terminated. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Elizabeth, if you still even remember that name. But I'm afraid you've been misinformed. You are not here to receive a gift, nor have you been called here by the individual you assume, although you have indeed been called. For most of you, I believe there is peace, and perhaps more, waiting for you after the smoke clears. Although for one of you, the darkest pit of hell has opened to swallow you whole, so don't keep the devil waiting, old friend.
Five Nights at Freddy's Pizza Simulator was such a different game to anything we'd seen before it. The tycoon aspects of the game was actually a breath of fresh air and a light little break from the scary monsters. I love the tycoon sections. It's just so nice and chill to roam around your goofy little pizzeria and playing stupid little games like this. A lot of the mini-games have a surprising amount of lore elements in them, like this arcade game where you can see a blonde little girl and Spring Bonnie in the back. I don't actually have anything negative to say about this part of the game. It's genuinely just dumb fun and a nice sense of comfort. Whoa! The salvage and office maintenance part of this game are where it drops heavily for me. The salvage part sounds pretty cool in theory, but in execution it's just not handled super well. You can barely see any movements from the animatronic, and it doesn't really make me get a sense of urgency because I have 3 attempts to push them back. I don't know. I think if they somehow made this part a little bit more, like, intuitive, I would have probably enjoyed it more. The office part is somehow even worse. It's just clicking a button and waiting for specific tasks to be finished. Now, it'd be fine if you didn't have 30 creepy crawlies in your vents, but of course, you need a bit of danger to make more, like, interesting game. But they did it in the worst way possible. All the animatronics basically do the same thing looking at you, FNaF 2. So there are like 4 animatronics with the same weakness and same speed. It's just so boring, and the later nights can come to such a halt because you took in all the animatronics. And it really isn't because it's difficult, oh no. It's just because the amount of enemies make it impossible to make them all go away in a fast manner. I mean, yeah, you have the audio lure, but for me it almost serves no purpose at all. But I can forgive all of this because of that amazingly beautiful ending. I don't think it's an unpopular opinion to say that Pizza Simulator has probably the best ending to the FNaF games. Hearing Henry on the comms monologuing about finally having trapped and killed the animatronics, and William, is just so metal. I love the ending, and it was just a really nice and somber way to end the original FNaF franchise on. If the franchise ended here, I would have been completely satisfied with the entire thing. Okay, what can I even say about this game? I guess it's pretty fun to see what the mechanics are. I guess the lore is fine, yada yada. It did give us one of the funniest memes ever in Dako crying over beating the 2050 mode, so that's probably my biggest praise of this game. To be honest, I just don't have a lot to say about this game, alright? It's fine. Okay, so this is the piece de resistance of the FNaF franchise. This is actually a game I do very much want to talk about, as it's probably my favorite game in the franchise. This is the game that brought me back into the FNaF franchise officially. I remember when FNaF 1 and 2 came out, I always told myself that I would absolutely love to play a VR version of them. And then when I saw this finally come out, I saved up the money to get myself a PS4 VR. And I had an absolute blast playing the minigames and trying to piece together the lore. I still remember my first time playing the first FNaF in VR. And holy shit, it scared the balls out of me. I really didn't think I'd be shaking in fear. I thought I was completely over the fear of FNaF, but it just hit me while playing the game for the first 5 seconds that I'm actually in the office alone and pretty much defenseless. Seriously, if you love FNaF and have never tried Help Wanted, I really recommend trying to get it. I know you need a VR and the game, but it's just so absolutely worth it. It gives you so many hours of fun and scares, and it's without a doubt the best FNaF game in my opinion. Now, I wish I could talk longer on it, but since it's mostly a rehash of the previous games, but in VR, I can't really go into the gameplay without some repetitiveness, so I guess on to the next game. No! Fuck you! No! Never! Go away! Comes the most controversial game in the franchise. The game that divided the fan base, really. And do I like it? Not really. This game, especially on release, was a buggy mess that seemed like it had no direction of what you had to do or what the story was. This game is a walking simulator for the first 10 hours of playing, and then it becomes a somewhat boring fetch quest game. Now, I tried putting my nostalgia glasses on the table for this game, but I don't even think it's nostalgia that makes me dislike this game. Into the Pit is also a newer game in the franchise, but I think it's a top 3 in the games. I just think that µఖซี้was way too ambitious for its own good, putting in way too many elements that didn't coincide well with a FNaF game. Like, it's meant to be a horror, fetch quest, sandbox, toilet destroyer. I just think that it tried to be too many things at once. And even though I can appreciate the effort, it didn't work well. Like, why is the player friends with one of what should be the main antagonists of the game? I think having Freddy there as a little lifeline makes this game way too safe and boring. And the others? Yeah, what about them? I just feel like they're one-note cookie-cutter characters that serve no purpose other than to kill the player if they make a mistake. And you know what? That would have been fine if they didn't try to give them personalities. Like, I think having the animatronics have personalities exceeding weird tendencies is a bad idea. In FNaF 1, Foxy was a bit quirkier than the other animatronics. It gave him personality, but not to the point of humanizing him. These characters just feel like humans in costumes. Like, why in the world would they make an animatronic wolf have insecurities? I think it completely ruins a lot of the immersion I have for these games. The point of these animatronics are that they're creepy, not understandable. They fit pretty close in the uncanny valley territory, but the newer ones just threw that out the window, I guess. And don't get me started on Vanny. The one thing I really didn't like about Help Wanted was them teasing Vanny, and maybe the return of Afton. Steelwool really wanted to recreate the hype Scott made for Springtrap by making— oh, would you look at that, another fucking rabbit! Yeah, so even though this game had a lot of potential, and was worked on with great ambition, it sadly just fumbled the bag so hard in the end. Also, why does it have like 50 endings? This is fucking horrible! Wait, that's not right. Okay, there we go. No! What a disappointment, man! This is one of my least favorite sequels to a game I really loved. Help Wanted 2 threw out so much that I loved about the original, and replaced it with the worst parts of new-gen FNaF. Instead of focusing on horror this time around, they decided to go with the goofy route. They could have really done something special here. Maybe like incorporate FNaF 4, Sister Location, and Pizza Simulator as game modes, but no! They barely used the games and just put in really boring and mind-numbingly easy minigames that a 5-year-old could do, like paint an animatronic or throw balls at points. I was so excited for this release as well. I couldn't wait for the sequel to one of the scariest experiences I ever had. And the story was just nothing to me, as I'm pretty sure it had something to do with FNaF Security Breach DLC, and I really didn't care about that. The best part about this game is, you guessed it, the sister location aspects of it. It's the only parts that are even slightly scary and fun. If they did more of this instead of stupid color puzzles, I think it would have probably been a better experience. I didn't even bother getting all the coins and getting the true ending, because I could honestly not be asked to play through some of these levels. What a disappointment, man. They had so much potential, and they just squandered it. I am genuinely upset about this one. Oh boy, okay, this is the last game I'm going to talk about in this video. Yeah, I know the Secret of the Mimic is a thing, but I haven't actually gotten around to watching or playing it yet, so maybe for a future video. But what a high note to end this on, I'll tell you that. Now, even though the last few games have been on the worst end of FNaF games, Into the Pit is such an upgrade. I wasn't expecting to like it because it seemed too simple, but in reality, this is a great story game with pretty creepy elements and really nice visuals. I think going a different route than 3D Walker game was a great idea. It made things easier to navigate. This game revolves around a tiny child called Oz, and his life just sucks, man. It sucks. All his friends move to a different town, he has to watch dead possums for entertainment, and his dad keeps driving him to the same crappy pizza place every day. So one day at the pizza place called Frank's Pizza, Oz stumbles on an abandoned ball pit. So when he climbs inside it, he's transported into the past, where the pizzeria is up and running and kids are having fun. You wander around playing hide and seek with street urchins when the place gets attacked by a suspicious looking entity, and as you try to get away, he kidnaps your dad. Yeah, he kidnaps your dad. So as your new father kidnaps you to your own home, you're supposed to try and find your dad in the past. And oh my god, I love this premise so much. It reminds me a lot of those games like Kindergarten, and that's a huge compliment. I just think that FNaF is done best when there isn't as much going on. Like, this works so perfectly well because of how small scale it is. FNaF shouldn't be about a huge, small-sized pizza place or stupid wolves. It should be about the fear of the unknown and how things ended up so horribly. That's what made FNaF 1 so endearing. If they keep doing stuff like this, like how they did in Into the Pit, I don't really doubt they can make some amazing games in the future. This is definitely a top 3, maybe. Actually, no, I put this at top 2. This game really, like, reignited my love for the FNaF franchise, and I really do hope we get like a similar game to it sometime soon. Maybe like for one of the other books. I heard it's a book series, so yeah, that's what it's gonna be about. Okay, so real quick, this is my tier list to all the games that I've talked about in this video. Do with that information as you will. It's been a blast going through most of the FNaF franchise. It's pretty nostalgic to look at all these games that are very near and dear to me. This is also the longest video I've ever made, and I doubt I'll make another video this long for a while. Sorry it took me so long to release this. Around 12 pages of pure writing and some pretty not fun things in real life was a bit of a struggle, but I'm happy I didn't scrap this video because it has generally been one of the funnest and most focused videos I've ever worked on. I hope you enjoyed the video. Consider liking and subscribing for more stupid game analysis or reviews or whatever you call this garbage. And hope you're staying safe wherever you are. Alright, bye!